Welcome on in. This is Lowcountry Money Talk, and we are joined now by Phil Bloyd. He's with Revolutionary Financial Group. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me again.
Before we started the show, we were talking about the year end, and the year end means a lot of things for a lot of folks, but it definitely means it's time to pay some attention to your financial picture.
You know, we get a reset, so it's almost December 31st. There's some things we can do. So the first thing I would say is tax harvesting. That's something that you've probably heard mentioned before, but tax harvesting would be if I have any capital losses, maybe I've carried forward, or maybe in my brokerage accounts, not in IRAs, but in my brokerage accounts, maybe I've made some gains and maybe I've made some losses, but hey, Christmas is coming, right?
That's right.
So maybe I need some income for some gifts or something. So if I have maybe a $5,000 loss in an equity position, and maybe I have a $5,000 gain, maybe I sell some of the gain. Market's high, right? We're supposed to sell.
Sell high.
Right.
We've heard that.
So we take our 5,000 and we look at it against the 5,000 loss, the gain versus loss, and guess how much that equals?
I think it's 5.
Well, 5 positive, 5 negative, 0 for the tax person.
There you go.
So that's what
Yes.
we're looking
There you
for.
go.
So that's tax harvesting.
Yes, and in the example you gave when we were on the break was, talking about then if you do have a $10,000 loss or a $5,000 gain, then you are only at -5, which obviously is better than where you were before.
So now would be maybe we've had a huge market year again. And for 13 years we've been doing quite well with the rise of the equities. So if we have any losses that we've been carrying forward, capital losses, we may use those capital gains to kind of offset. So when January comes around, we may be in a little bit of a different market. So we'll have some nice zeroed out, if you would, taxes, so we could start over again on those gains for next year.
What's interesting about what you're talking about too, if you do have a net gain and a net loss that you are trying to get to 0, is you were explaining that it doesn't have to be, it can be across any of your industries that you're investing in. So if you've got an Amazon and a GE, you can actually make those work together.
Whatever the equities may be, we have our gains and we have our losses. So, we may have one that's done really great, and we sold this dog here like years ago, but we haven't used up all the loss yet because maybe we're just taking $3,000 a year, using that and then carrying forward. So now would be a good time because I think, maybe we've been in a huge run in equities minus March of last year. If we take that out of the picture, we're running about a 13-year gain. So the market's probably due for a change.
Yes.
So if it changes, now would be the time to possibly, some people say, well, I've made so much in gains in this position, I hate to sell it. And then what I say is, well, I guess we'll wait for it to lose and then we'll sell it.
And that's the problem and that we get into, of course, definitely.
Right.
Let's take some time, of course, we start thinking about Roth this time of year and what kinds of things should we be doing and thinking about as we roll into the year end here.
Yeah. Let's take a look at our wiggle room.
Okay.
So I brought a little bit of the tax summary here just to kind of refresh. So I like to use the wiggle room in the individual tax code to make a plan. It's getting kind of late in the year, so I'm hoping you made this plan earlier, but it's not too late still. So maybe I can use this as a guide. So let's say that I'm in the 22%. I'm married, filing jointly, 81,000 to 172, and let's say I'm okay with paying up to 22% on some of my income. So let's say I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I'm at 130,000, so I have wiggle room of about 40,000. So maybe I want to convert some of my traditional IRA over to the Roth IRA to keep it under that 22% or at that 22%, but not go to the next bracket. So what I do is I call this the wiggle room. So this is
smart.
the wiggle room. So what is your wiggle room? I mean, I don't know, but you should find out real quick, because we only have till December 31st to do these conversions. So that's one thing that won't go into the new year. So some people say, well, I'll do it next year. Well, hey, why lose a year? Because the rates we're looking at here, remember the sunset, they're due to sunset in 2025. So that would be the last year of these rates, then the tax rates will automatically go up.
Wow. So it's important to take a look at that and to be aware of that, where you do fall within these tax brackets and what wiggle room you have.
Yeah.
So asking an expert obviously is helpful. We've got more questions for the expert. We got to go to break.
Okay.
Phil, we'll be right back. Stick with us.